Well, hello again, everybody. This is going to be an interesting video. Look, first off, if you just want to watch something about tech, old tech, retro tech, the normal thing I cover here on this channel, like 99% of the time, then you may just want to skip out on this video. This one is a personal video, and it's more it's not really going to have much to do with CRTs. I mean, that will play a back part in all this as far as like my, I guess, choices in life and the things that have happened. And anyway, this is not an easy video, I feel like, for me to make. I've been thinking about it like off and on for about the last 2 years. But originally, I think I opened the can of worms myself by making my first video about this 2 years ago. And what I'm talking about is when I had, well, my closest experience, I would say, to death, of course, in my entire life. And this is reflecting back to 2 years ago when I ended up in the hospital with myocarditis, and was a really scary situation. And basically, I made a video 2 years ago talking about that. And to be honest, the original intent of that video was just to let everybody on the YouTube channel know, and especially the people who were getting CRTs worked on in my shop at the time, to know what was going on with me, and that I was okay, and that I was recovering, and that things were okay. But there was something that happened to me, and there was a reason at the time that I had been kind of out of the loop, or out of the spotlight on my YouTube channel for a few weeks. So I just wanted people to know that I was okay, but there was something major happening. So today I want to kind of go back through some of that, what happened to me 2 years ago. Because again, the original intent of that video was just to inform people that something had happened to me. I survived the event. I gave a little bit information on it, and then that video blew up kind of on the channel, and a lot of people saw it that normally don't watch this channel. It's still one of the biggest watched videos on my channel altogether, and I didn't anticipate for that to happen. So when I made the video originally, there was a lot of things that I kind of breezed over. I didn't get into detail with, and I really want to put these things down on the record, maybe for myself to come back and watch, I don't know, 30 years from now, if I'm still around. Hopefully this information will help somebody else that's going through it, but there's a lot that happened. So that's the big introduction. Again, I appreciate it. If you don't want to watch this video and you don't care about any of this, click off. I guarantee you I have some awesome CRT videos on some Trinitrons and other cool TVs coming very soon. But today, this is what we're talking about. So I'd like to go back and replay, or not replay, but revisit some of these things, and walk you through what I was experiencing at the time, and give you a little bit more details over things I didn't go into. And I know a lot of you guys are probably going to hear a lot of this stuff and feel a little skeptical, but that's okay. Is what it is. And I'm just going to tell you exactly what happened to me and how it all went down, and things like that. So if we go back to 2 years ago, about mid-January of 2023, that would have been, I was really kind of running things really thin. This was, of course, around the holidays, and I'm sure that my stress levels were extremely high. I had moved to a new place, and things didn't, I had moved to a new state about, I'd say, a year prior to this happening, this event. And things didn't really go the way I thought they would go on the move. Like, there were some things that just, didn't really, you have all these great ideas about things. You hope they're going to go a certain way. Well, things were starting to get difficult. So my stress levels were high, especially since it was the right after the holiday season, and excuse me, my wife had just started a new job. So I was a little bit relieved by that, but it was stressful because it took her a long time to find a good job in the new town, and thankfully she did, and that's when that happened. But up to then, it was quite stressful because it was just me doing the CRT stuff and trying to raise a family, and we were trying to figure things out after a big move. And anyway, that all culminated and with me catching some kind of a virus in that mid-January point. And it was a bad virus. I have no idea what it was, but I was bedridden. Like, I didn't vomit or anything. It was kind of a weird thing where I would just get fevers a lot, and I would constantly wake up night sweating or whatever. If I'd fall asleep, I'd wake up an hour, 2 hours later, just like drenched in sweat. And I'd go get real pale, real weak. Anyway, I had this terrible virus, and I thought that I could just, of course, normally just hang out, collect myself, relax, and try to get better that way. But unfortunately, this virus was not getting better. I was into it about 3 days, and it just was sticking around, like wouldn't go anywhere. The fevers were still high, over 102 degrees. And I was pretty much isolated to my own portion of the house, and I was really just being stubborn. Like, I don't need to go to the hospital or to a doctor. I can just, go through this, take some vitamins. And I really started using Advil. And so I was popping these Advils to try to limit the fever temperature. It would work a little bit, but it would never break. I would think it was going to be breaking and it would be all done, but it wouldn't happen. The fever would come back. I'd pop some more Advils. The fever would come back. And it got to be 2 days later. So it was about the fifth day, and it was like the end of the fifth day. And at this point, my sleep schedule was really screwed up. Like, I barely could fall asleep. When I did fall asleep, I would, again, wake up covered in sweat. Not long after that, change all my clothes, change my bed sheets. And if I was lucky, then I would fall back asleep. But I was also getting I started getting these intense chest pains by this point. Like, the fourth day they came, the fifth day they were starting to get real bad. And so I remember, like, at this period, it would have been the fifth night, and I was super, like, exhausted, worn out. And I definitely was not, after all that happened, I was not in a, of course, sane mind frame at this point. I don't believe so. I mean, I was pretty much driven myself to delirium through lack of sleep, this viral infection, and then taking all the Advil. And I mean, all that stuff combined didn't help me really. So anyway, the fifth night comes, and this is I know this is the part that a lot of people are going to question, because personally, I've never had any experience as close to like a near-death experience as what I would consider what happened that night, late that night. So I'm sorry, like, I'm really nervous. This is, again, something I've never really discussed this in length with anyone. So I really, I feel like it will be good to finally say this. But all right. So anyway, what happened? What happened was I was laying in bed, and I remember just laying there and thinking, man, this is just not going well. I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm trying to go to sleep, trying to calm down, but my chest pains are insane. And I just keep waking up in sweat puddles. So I'm laying there, and I don't know that I had drifted off to sleep, or if I had been like out of my body, because basically what happened next was I just remember looking down and like seeing myself sleep. Like I wouldn't say that it was anything where I thought that I had passed away or anything. I mean, so that I don't know that I could have just had this vision, could have been anything really. So I don't want to, but it also could have been a prolific experience because it was extremely weird. So I'm watching myself sleep, and then things just get darker and darker and darker. And it's weird because I didn't really feel a lot of fear. I feel like I was being brought somewhere though. And it kept getting darker and darker and darker till I was in like complete darkness for a second. And then I look around and I start to see things. But it's like a red glow kind of starts to glow and slowly illuminate things around you. And so the red kind of dark crimson, I would call it, glow starts to come, and I see like stones, dark stones, and I realize I'm in something like a fort or a fortress. Real dark. And I'm going to tell you the closest thing I can compare this to would be one of the orc scenes from Lord of the Rings. Okay? So let me set this scene for you a little bit. Again, pretty much darkness, some smoldering smoke. I'm on the wall of this fortress. So I'm up on the wall where you would be watching out over into, you know, whoever would attack a fortress. You're up on the guard wall for the most part watching. And I could just, again, see smoldering. I look over and I see that there's a moat kind of around this fortress, gigantic fortress. And it is like lava. And that's the only light, is like the lava that's down there is like putting out the light that slowly is revealing things. And then still don't feel any fear at this point. I noticed that there are like creatures around. And I mean, these are some of like the most grotesque, death-looking creatures you could imagine. Again, I don't feel fear because I didn't feel like they knew I was there or they could sense me in any way. It was almost like I was getting just to watch this, and I wasn't actually there with them in their whatever was going on. It was literally like I'm observing this as an invisible kind of. So anyway, I mean, these creatures are awful. They're in like, it's a mix between kind of like the orcs, and then I don't know if anybody knows Army of Darkness, that silly Bruce Campbell movie. But there's a lot of like skeletons in that are running around, and they're wearing this really old, crappy, like mid-century armor. Well, it was similar to that. So you have like a mix of these like creatures that are orcish and like skeleton, and I mean, just a disgusting mess of like a physical beast. And they're all different. Like every one of these was a little bit different, these creatures. And I mean, there's like armies of them. I look out beyond that crimson moat and I just see like an army of these disgusting creatures. Again, it looks like the orc scene where Sauron is like commanding the orcs. And the reason I bring that part up is because that's, I'm looking around and I'm just seeing these other kind of creatures that were in, again, this is like a military outfit of these creatures, a military, regiment. And I'm on the wall and I look over and there's a couple of them set out looking at the crowd. And there is like this, I'd call him like a chief or general. It wasn't as if it was like the lead Satan devil Lucifer or anything. This was like someone under that position that was given an order to give out to the orders to all the people. And that's what or people. They're not people, they're creatures. So that's what this was. This commanding creature general came out, and he's with a bombastic like voice says, "Now hear the commands." And every creature was just start like quiet attention, listening to the commands of this general. And the general says, I can't remember every single thing, but it's like a little bit of a speech about the loyalty, and at the end of this little speech, to kind of get all these creatures riled up, like telling them how awful their ways are, and they're really not awful. Awful as being like the bad that they do is good in like a cheering way. But this commander was like, it's time to take the next step. It's time for all of you to go on to the next. It was like battlefield. It was like your next command for this regiment. And it was insane because then the commander sat there and said, it's time to sacrifice yourself to move on to the next battlefield, basically. And all of a sudden I saw all these. It started with the ones up on the wall next to me. They would pull out a big knife or sword or whatever weapon they had, these first ones, and they literally would cut themselves up in the gut and just spill their guts over and then just like fall over dead. And then another one would do the same thing and jump into basically the moat. And all of them started doing it. They all started just sacrificing this hideous body they had and just keeling over, spilling out, and it just became this disgusting mess. And then I saw this weird vision. And folks, this is where it gets even crazier, if you could believe that. So I saw a vision where these creatures, they started dying, and their essence, the actual creature's essence, was being shot up into Earth here where we live, right? I mean, what was happening is they were being like shot into, I want to say like this whole flash came before my eyes, almost like I keep comparing this to movies, and I promise I didn't watch any of these movies like at this point, but I want to give you a good visual to think about. If you know the end of the Stanley Kubrick movie about going to space, and I don't know why the movie's not, I mean, normally I would think of that no problem, but anyway, the end of that movie, there is a scene where the man is like reborn, and it shows him in an embryo stage, and like in like this galactic womb where he's being reborn into a human. Well, that's what was happening here with these demonic entities, these creatures. They were being reborn into like a womb, and then I saw them like being birthed, and like flashes of them being older and being on Earth, and they were just terrorizing people. Like there were little flashes of them doing everything. One was robbing someone, and then you could see like the sparkle in their eye, and they were kind of giggling as they saw the other person suffer that they were robbing. And you could say, oh, I could tell that was one of them. And it got down to things where I saw a little child that was probably 3 or 4 years old just terrorizing his mother. Like, and I'm not exactly sure what's happening with my camera right now. I'm sorry. It seems to be going crazy on its own. That's so weird. Like I start talking about this stuff and my camera's going crazy. I haven't had autofocus on the whole time, and now it's autofocusing. So we're probably going to take a break here if it doesn't stop, and then I'll come back because I have no idea what it's doing. All right. I apologize for that. That's wild. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Again, guys, I'm sorry if the camera starts going crazy. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm watching these kids do these things. And again, the one that really shook me was realizing it was just a little child. And I could see like a terror glimmer in its eye to see that it was one of these creatures that had been birthed into this baby, and that it got joy out of terrorizing other people. And it got joy out of, hurting people. There was no other reason besides then it was just there to hurt and terrorize, like people on this earth that were just trying to live and do the right thing and all that. And literally after that, I woke up. And just I was like so freaked out. I didn't know whether it was a hallucination. But I woke back up, obviously, in my bed, and I knew at that point, I was like, this is too much. My chest pains got extremely worse, and that is when I finally, that morning, I told my wife, I didn't even tell her about that dream or experience, that out-of-body experience I just told you about, and anyway, I never told her about that part of it. I just told her that I had a terrible night and that I didn't think I was going to be able to go through another night without going to the hospital. And that's what I did. I was so stupid and again, I would say ignorant. I would say stubborn, that I thought I would just go to the emergency room, be given some medicine and get out. So I was like, follow me there. I'll drive my car there. You follow me, which was a dumb idea. I tried to drive and I was so out of it. And I literally jumped a curb and drove through one of my neighbor's yard partially accidentally because it was like I was a drunk, but I didn't have the motor controls I thought I could have. So stubborn me thought I would be able to go drive to the hospital and get out. Of course, I couldn't. So anyway, I got to the hospital, and that's kind of where, thankfully, things got better. I will briefly talk about the hospital thing, but I am going to need to take a break, and I will get into the hospital. I just want to make sure the camera's going, so we're going to take a little break here, and then I'll come back. All right, everybody, I'm very sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened. Really, when I went back and looked at that recording, and it seems like right when I started talking about the near-death experience or the, vision, that I started to have trouble right then with the program, which is so weird because this camera that you're looking at, it's not on autofocus. So it started doing an autofocus thing. It's literally on manual. So I don't know what happened. Anyway, we're back, and I'm going to jump right back into this thing. We're at the part where I'm in the hospital, and I go into the hospital naively thinking I'll be able to make it out. They pretty much immediately wheel me back. If you go to the hospital into the emergency room and you tell them you have chest pain, that's pretty much key word for get you in a room right away. So if you think you have this problem or something wrong with your chest, go directly to the hospital if you have a serious issue, because they will get you in there quickly. They won't make you wait. Like everybody else that was in the waiting room had to wait because I was rushed pretty much right back whenever I got there. So I got in the hospital, told them what was wrong with me. They immediately started running checks and asking me things. I told them basically everything I told you except for the whole vision part, just about me being sick and things. They immediately ran a ton of tests, viral tests, every virus test they could pretty much think of, COVID, Lyme, flu. What else is there? Oh, strep, stuff like that. All of it. Mono, I even think they tested me for. And I came back negative for everything. So it was really strange. They didn't have an exact virus. They said you just got a viral infection. And then they checked me out a little more, checked out my heart, and they said that something's going on with your heart, and we needed to, monitor this. We got to get some people in here with some equipment to test some things, check some things, and they gave me the viral tests. They gave me they put me on EKGs. They were monitoring my heart rate, and then they started. I started getting shots just like of blood thinners injected into my stomach, and I just remember how painful that was. It was awful. But that's where they had to inject it. But it was interesting because pretty much right after about being there for, I'd say 2 or 3 hours, the blood thinners made me feel a lot better. Like I felt all of a sudden relaxed. I felt like my chest pain was kind of gone. It was just shocking how much different that had made. And so I laid there. They did proceed to do a bunch of tests. I had to get an ultrasound that day of my heart. They had the main heart doctor, cardiologist, come over and talk to me. And he did this after they took that, after they took the ultrasound of my heart. He came in and he told me, he said, look, you had a viral infection. What happened was that viral infection was in you for so long that it got into your heart muscle. And when it was in your heart muscle, it caused your heart muscle to swell. And that has left scarring on your heart. And so everything on my heart or on my medical papers was called myocarditis. That's what they had said I had. That's what they told me was myocarditis and what had happened to me. They said, that's what it is. You have scar tissue now on your heart. It's still a little swollen. So we want to monitor you and make sure this goes down and doesn't get worse. And so I was stuck then, of course, in the hospital overnight for what was, after seeing the vision and dealing with all this, I felt a little bit at ease, but I also thought, man, is this a long downward, just week-long spiral for me at 40 years old? Because if I'm honest with you, I was in terrible physical condition at this point. I told you I was overstressed. I was definitely not getting much sleep regularly. At this time I was working so hard, I was probably sleeping 4 to 5 hours a night. I was drinking alcohol too much, really not taking care of myself, eating poorly, not exercising regularly, anything like that. So when I was in the hospital, I was really concerned. I was like, man, I've gotten myself into such a bad place. But anyway, thankfully, the medicine continued to help. I had to pretty much get my blood work tested, I think every 2 hours, all for a 24-hour cycle. So that was pretty miserable. But thankfully, all my blood work chart levels started to come down and normalize. And I started to feel better the next day. Everybody in the hospital wanted me to stay longer than one night, except the cardiologists. And I was so thankful for him because I wanted to get out of there, right? After being like, they were pumping me full of different medications to try to make things change with my blood work. So I was like, I was being as joyous and optimistic as I could be, but at the same point, I didn't feel good. I was thinking that I was, like I said, I was in such bad shape. I didn't know what was going to happen. I was concerned to have to stay there longer. Again, my wife, she just started a brand new job. I have 2 young children that go to school. So all this was going on. All this was very much stressful, but a little bit of a relief because, again, we got in there. The cardiologist had explained all these things to me. So the next day, the cardiologist visits again, looks at all the EKGs, all the blood work information from the 24-hour period, and he says, I'm comfortable releasing you to go back home and just to go on with your life. And I was like, this is unbelievable. Really? And he said, yes. He said, this is a bad event for you, but he said, surprisingly, he said, you're not in terrible shape, which is sad to think about that. I think that's probably part of I don't want to say it, but American culture is that at that time, I wasn't considered completely out of shape, but I considered myself out of shape. So anyway, the doctor told me I wasn't allowed to do anything strenuously physical for a period of months. He said I would get a follow-up within 2 months, and I wasn't really to do anything besides just go home and rest. They did not give me any medicine, no prescriptions, nothing like that. I have no history of heart problems in my family, and it was kind of a one-time event. They said I should make enough of a recovery to be able to make it to that follow-up appointment. So I was kind of blown away. No medication, nothing, just send me on my way. And they let me go. I went home, and I spent the next couple months relaxing and just trying to figure out what I had done with myself to get to that point, what I could do, if anything, to make things different. I don't know. I was in this limbo period because I wasn't allowed to do a lot. I wasn't allowed to work heavy. That's when I made the first video, because again, I was in this limbo period. After it had happened, I'd left the hospital. I made that video because it was like, you cannot go and do any physical activity. So I had to take a period of time where I basically couldn't do any work. And so if we fast forward to the point, I eventually got in to meet the follow-up appointment. And what they did in that follow-up appointment was they actually gave me an MRI. And they gave me an MRI on my heart. I made a little video about that. I won't go details what that's like because that's pretty chilling and awful on its own. I will add both of those videos, the big one and then the one about the MRI, below in case you want to catch up on any of that. You can. But anyway, I went to the MRI, I got that done, and then they said that, again, I would get a follow-up with not a doctor, a physician's assistant afterwards to discuss the MRI and review the MRI once all that was submitted and done. I went to that follow-up appointment, and I met with the physician's assistant, and I don't want to be rude, but it was one of the most useless meetings of all that I had, where the physician's assistant asked just a couple questions, how I was doing, how I was feeling. And it was funny. He asked if I looked at the MRI results, and I was like, I didn't even know that was an option, but no, I don't know anything about MRIs. I don't even care to look. That's what I told him. And he was kind of shocked, but, because I guess most people look at their own MRIs, but I didn't care. So I said, I don't know anything about that stuff. I didn't want to freak myself out. I tried to remain stress-free, so I didn't even look at it. And he said, well, we rehashed what had happened a little bit and what had happened since. I told him I didn't really have anything happening to myself that was a reoccurring event since then. Nothing bad had happened. And anyway, he recommended some medication. I asked him about the medicine, which was a blood thinner again, and I was like, what are the side effects? And it was like, basically you could get extra drowsy is what he told me. And I said, well, okay, what's the benefit of that? And he said, well, it's going to thin your blood. And anyway, this is a little bit too deep for the medical part. It's not really that important. All I could say is that I asked him, like, what was going to happen to me. And he said, well, we may follow up with you. We may never follow up with you, which I thought was interesting. And you may have a event again. You may never have a heart event again. And I was like, well, this is quite a range of possibilities here, doctor. He said half the people end up with a heart condition again and get worse. Other people never have a heart condition again, go on and live a full life. So I don't know what will happen to you. And I was like, oh, this is beautiful. Okay. And I said, well, that's it. I don't need really any more questions answered. So I left that appointment. I took the medicine or the medication that they had offered me, and I got the prescription filled. And for the next month, I took the medicine. But I tell you, this stuff, man, it made me turn into like some kind of narcoleptic maniac where if I took the pill, And it was a tiny pill. And it was like, I had to get this device because it was so small. I had to cut the pill in fourths and just take a fourth of it. And so I take this pill, and I mean, it would turn me into a it would turn me into a zombie. I would not be able to stay awake. I would fall asleep in the chair. Anytime I take it, literally within 30 minutes, it would just knock me out. So after a month of that, I said enough with this medicine. And honestly, I just stopped taking it. And that was it. I was like, I'm not taking it anymore. It's making my life awful. And I started to think, what am I going to do with myself? How can I get myself out of this funk? How can I get myself back? And so, again, this was past that limbo point. So now we're a couple months down the road. And I mean, if I'm honest with you, I was a fat mess. I was up to my biggest weight, probably 240, 245 pounds. And I just was like sitting there, and I was taking this medicine, and I was extremely overweight. And I looked at myself and I said, there's this like personal thing, is it my personal goal to live longer? Is that what I want to do? Because I felt like when the physician's assistant did tell me something that stuck with me. He said, half the people go on and live a full life. Half the people just keep getting worse, and their heart condition basically rules their life. And I thought, well, if I'm not in a position where I'm told now, I was told you can go on now and start working out and stuff. And I thought, if I'm not going to get myself into some kind of better shape now, when am I? When will I ever? So I had to make the personal decision, because ultimately everybody else can want you to do this, but you have to make the personal decision for yourself when you're going to change your life and flip full direction, do something else, completely change your ways. And this was the moment for me. And I'm going to give you the 3 keys that really changed me from what I was at that point, the worst possible health condition I had ever been in, to right now, which is a year and a half later. I've never felt better physically. I know that I'm in, my body's in an amazingly better place. And that's just obvious night and day. And I'm just going to tell you what helped me in my specific situation go from that point to now. And it was one simple bang, self high five, silly little thing that was DDP yoga. DDP yoga, I'm not going to give you all the benefits and everything of it and sell you on that. You can go do that yourself if you're interested. There's plenty of testimonials on just how people have changed their life with DDP yoga. I had gotten the DDP yoga DVDs as a gift from my wife, who was begging me to work out 3 or 4 years actually, before this whole event happened. I did it for about a month, and then I just stopped. I was like, it got in the way. I didn't think it was great helping me. I just stopped. So I thought, you know what? This is a good opportunity for me to take that. That's a low impact. Anybody can start these workouts on DDP yoga. You don't have to be in great shape. That was the thing that got me into it, was I knew that all these people had transformed their lives, and they were basically almost bedridden physically, and they got to a point where they were better. So that's my testimony. I started on the DDP workout plan. I literally started from the day one, the workout plan, and then I worked out every single day. Every single day I did a 20 to 30 minute yoga cardio style workout for, I want to say, like 3 or 4 months. Every day I just did it. And I mean, I was starting to feel awesome. I had immediately dropped, after that point of doing it that much, I had dropped 15 plus pounds, and I was feeling great. I thought, the world was finally going physically my way. And I also changed what I was eating. I stopped filling myself with garbage, I would say. I mean, it's so easy in America to fill yourself with garbage food and unhealthy things. And if you don't stop yourself from doing it, most people aren't going to be able to stop you. So I finally said, enough is enough. I completely changed my eating habits. And not only that, I switched to where I started fasting, and I really wouldn't do anything besides drink water and coffee up until about 2 to 3 p.m. every day. So I would eat between, let's say, 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. And those would be the only hours I would be eating any food. And I would try to make it a better meal filled with simple meat, simple vegetables being cooked, and like a lot of nuts, fruits, berries, avocados, eggs, trying to get myself cleaned up, my body right. So I was doing the eating right, and I was doing the exercising, and I continued that up until now. I'm still doing that. And that's really the two of the three main things that helped me physically. And I'm going to give you the third one because it took me a whole year to figure out the third one. Basically, I got to the point where I was doing these workouts and I was hitting a wall where I was either getting myself extremely tired or I wasn't getting a lot of returns on my workouts. Like I wasn't seeing the results I thought I should have been. When you see a lot of weight loss at the beginning, then towards the middle and the end, you're like, where's the weight loss going? What's happening? Why aren't I getting better? I realized I needed to reach out to some people, and I reached out to my friends who also were working out a lot. And I said, what's the secret here? And the final third part of this whole thing was rest. So I started to concentrate more on getting rest and sleep. And I'm trying my best to get 8 hours of sleep a night. It's still very difficult. A lot of times I only end up with 6.5, 7, and I feel like I've gotten so much sleep, I'm ready to get up. But I try to give myself that rest, and I realize now anytime I have a memorable REM sleep where I know I dreamed, I don't know what the dream was, but I know I had a dream, I always wake up much more refreshed. And so that was the final key: the exercise, the meals, and then finally the rest. And that's where I am up to today. Now, I never had anybody else from the hospital, from the medical office, from anything contact me again after the PA meeting I talked to you about. They have never contacted me again in a year and 8 months since then. And this is where I'm at today. You know, things are much better. My business is finally coming a little bit more established. It's been a lot of fun to grow this CRT business. And my wife's career has gone well. We found a new place to live here in town. It's much better. It's got this awesome shop that I can now work in all the time. And I'm just so glad things turned out the way they did, because if they wouldn't have, I don't know. I mean, if I would have decided to just not do any of those things to make my life better, to not take any personal accountability, and do what I could, instead of being just lazy and taking the lazy way out, which I would have always done in the past. That's been the difference. And it's still, I'll be honest with you, it's not, at this point, I don't work out every day. I'm old. Basically after that, if I kind of go through that a little bit, I started getting a little bit too into it, working out. And then I started overworking out, and I would start to get hurt. And I realized, hey, I'm in my 40s now. I can't, like, if I work out and get hurt, then I got to stop working out and like rehabilitate and relax and let my body kind of go out of shape a little bit more, and I lose a lot of gains. And so I was like, I need to do, again, things that are not going to physically overexert my body. And so that's been a learning curve as I've gone through, and I've limited to where I work out 3 to 4 times a week now. And I can't get it over. I mean, I don't believe there's anybody, unless you're paralyzed, I don't feel like there's anybody that can't try DDP yoga. So if you really do have an instance where you feel like other workouts don't work for you, you can try this. It worked for me. The good thing is I was able to do it in my house. I don't like working out in gyms. I don't like being around other people exercising. I like to work out in my underwear. So that's not really great when you look like me. Even now, working out in your underwear in the gym, it's not a good thing for ugly dude. But that's pretty much it. That cycle changed. I changed my ways. I got into a better cycle. I feel good now. Sometimes I'll wake up and I'll feel crappy. And deep down in my head, I know that you just need to exercise, because 30 minutes after you do that exercise, you're going to do it. You're going to feel awesome afterwards. If I don't do it now, it gets to like the day, like I do it every other day pretty much. If I'm on the day that I'm like, I worked out yesterday, today I'll be fine. But tomorrow I'll start to feel like crap, because I don't know when I'll work out. If I don't work out, I'll just feel awful. So now you get to the point where you need it. And it's just like anything. Just like these TVs I work on all the time need some attention, love, and need some care. We as people are no different. We need care more than a machine. So anyway, guys, I really appreciate anybody who has honestly taken the time to watch this. This is a long video, and I hope that it reaches somebody and helps somebody. For me, it is a relief to kind of say this, finally get this off my chest, because I felt like for a long time there was so much stuff left over from these last 2 years. And I will mention this because I don't really think it's relevant anymore. This is so terrible, but honestly, I was concerned about even mentioning this in the other video, because there's so much in 2021 when this was happening, or I'm sorry, 2023 when this was happening. It was still so much stigma behind anybody with myocarditis. So, as far as C19 went, I caught every variant from the beginning. I had it 4 times. I never got any kind of a jab or anything for it. I literally only had COVID every time it came out and there was a variant. I had the natural antibodies because of that. But it didn't change. So that was another frustrating part of that original video, is everybody was there's so many people that got on that video just because they thought I was injured. And that wasn't the case for me. I literally got, that wasn't even a factor in me. It either had to do with that or it didn't. It really just had to do with the unnamed, they weren't worried when this happened. I was in the hospital. They weren't worried about me being a viral threat. They just thought it was a mutated virus that had gotten into me and caused this. It wasn't anything else. It wasn't side effects. It was just, that's what it was. So back then I wasn't confident enough to even say that because there was so much stigma around it. And honestly, I didn't think it mattered. I really just wanted to let people know in that first video that I was still alive and that I was trying to come back. I was trying to make it back, and basically what had happened to me. So that was the whole intent there. Anyway, I don't know what's happening with this video and what will happen with this video as far as how you guys will receive it. That's up to you. I'm completely willing to let you comment and leave. I'm going to leave comments open. If there's anything you want to add to this, feel free. I'm not, my YouTube channel is something a bit different. I don't play a character. The character is me. My videos are genuine. I made I've made between videos, podcasts, live streams, I've done probably 1,000 videos here on this platform, and I can count on my hand the amount of scripted videos I've ever done. 4. I'm just a genuine guy who sits here and pretty much turns on the camera and tries to talk to you honestly. There's no So what you see is what you get. And so I don't think it's fair for me to, I mean, for the longest time, I felt like it was unfair for me to put that video out a couple years back and then never follow up with something like this, because there was a lot more to that story. Anyway, this has gone on super long. I appreciate, again, anybody who watches this, anybody who watches anything, thank you for your time. And please, take care of yourself. Don't let things, it's never too late. If you have an opportunity to do something about yourself today, don't wait any longer. Don't wait any longer.